Welcome to Race Industry Now, the weekly webinar series from EPARTRADE, presented to you by ARP, Performance Plus Global Logistics, Feria, Peak, Quower, and Fifth Third Bank Motorsports. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of EPARTRADE, the racing industry, every minute, every day. This is episode 460, and we're going to be talking with FuelTech. With me this morning are Judy Keane, our co-founder of EPARTRADE, and a wonderful host, Mr. Jeff Hammond. Judy?
Thank you, Francisque, and thank you everyone for joining. Just so you know, I'm giving you a little heads up. We are now assembling the Race Industry Week, and that is December 2nd through December 5th. So make sure you sign in, save your seat. It's our 5th annual. It's hard to believe, and I just hear good things about it every single year. So get ready for this year. Jeff?
Yeah, it'll be here before you know it. So yeah, everybody make sure you make plans. Got big things coming down the line. I think you're gonna be excited about it just like we are. And I'm excited about today, folks. I really am. I mean, we've been talking with these folks in the past, and they've got some more improvements, some new ideas that are coming down as far as the I guess you call it the world of electronics. Good morning, sir. How are we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We were just talking about how excited we are about the program today and the new products you're going to be explaining to us how they fit into part of the old line, but all the new lines that's been going on. So without, they like to say, further ado, I'm gonna pass it off to you. And when I feel like I need to ask you a question, or if we have one of our guests that have a question, we're gonna maybe take a time out and we're gonna talk about it.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me today, and in the name of FuelTech and everyone that works hard to do the products that we do. It's really good to be able to have this kind of opportunity to show people what we do, right? So just to give a little background, FuelTech is a Brazilian company. We are now a little over 20 years old. So we have a little expertise on the ECU field, right? So as the name progresses into VCU, right? Like 2 decades ago, computers were not able to do as much as they are able to do today. The electronic units are actually becoming a vehicle controller, right? So they actually doing way more than just the engine. As we are in 2024, the regular electronic can actually do your combustion engine, but can also do your electric motor if you have a hybrid or some sort of that, can manipulate your transmission, can do some different sorts of power management and other accessories that you have on the vehicle, right? So with that being said, we slowly progressing our existing line and updating it, but it comes to a point where the hardware cannot take it, right? Just like a cell phone, right? We swap kind of every year or so, every 2 years, every 3 years, depends on the person, right? We swap because they have new processors, they have new screens, they have, you know, new technologies to have quicker data transfer. You know, we all remember when we start going from 4G to 5G. So on the ECUs and VCUs, it's not that different. So I have here with me just because it's cool to see it, right? So this is the very first member, right, with our new line. So this is the FT 700. The existing line that's pretty popular. A lot of people use on drag racing, road racing, you know, motorcycle racing, boat racing, jet ski racing, anything that has a engine, pretty much people use to race it. Right.
You're talking about your Power FT line of FT 450, 550, and the 600.
Yes, sir. So the Power FT line did a lot and it still does. You know, like as today, just to name a few, like this last weekend, we have PRA, that's an 8-mile sanctioned body that runs drag racing. The Pro Boost winner was with FuelTech ECU, FT 600. Johnny Kemp did a hell of a job and he got the job done. So as you can see, the units that we have out there, they are up to date, right? They can do whatever it takes to run up front on drag racing, on road racing, stuff like that. But we can kind of see where it's going. You know, we see what new requests is, what people have to use it, or some stuff that may not be hindering performance today, but it may be not allowing people to do changes so quickly, so easy, you know, so seamlessly. So the 700, that's the new one for the Vision FT. So the new line of ECUs. So this is the catch. Vision FT is a new line of VCUs, right? The 700 is the first one. So here with me, I have the regular 700, 7-inch screen. And we also have the big brother, the 700 Plus, that has a larger screen. Unfortunately, I don't have one here to show to you guys, but it's pretty much the same concept, same design. It's just larger, right? A little taller, but substantially wider, right? It's longer. So we kept the height about the same. So it's not like like a regular monitor it is. So it's an ultra wide display and it's way wider. These units, they are way more capable, right? So let me start from the back just to show. The two main plugs on this ECU, it's actually the same as a 600, the exactly same. So we did that on purpose. A customer coming from a 600 can literally swap from a 600 to a 700 without rewiring the car. He will just install the new software on his laptop, convert his old tune-up to this tune-up because the software is also different. Put it in, connect, crank and go. It will be that easy of a transition for a user from a 600. If they come from a 450 or a 550, it's the same family of connectors, but it will require a small repin, right? So I don't know, 10, 15 minutes job, something like that, but you can do that. And everything extra, we added, right? So instead of messing with what we have, we added. So we have these two extra connectors on the sides, right? Then we have another one in the middle, and I actually have a protection here. Then we have this. This is actually an antenna connection. So it has built-in GPS. And on the top is our manifold pressure sensor, absolute sensor. So just going small details, right? Let me talk about this. This connector here on the top, it's a media connector. So we are trying to include into the unit more features, right, that can add to the race car. This connector can connect to video, right? So you can connect cameras to the ECU now, and a microphone. So for example, you're gonna be able to record an onboard camera with your log, or I don't know, a front camera. There's two cameras you can do. And you can also record, for example, the engine bay and record the engine. So your engineer can see if something happened on the run that's sounding different or something like that. And you can also record your radio maybe, and you can see whatever happened, how the communication was. So this will also be on the log, and everything is synchronized. So it makes it easier, right? So on a drag racing car, it's easier. You can know whatever, the crew was guiding the driver. You can see, you can even hear the opponent, right? When they did a burnout, how long it took to stage, stuff like that, right? So we're going to start doing stuff that honestly, we don't actually know how they will be working for the customer, but we adding the opportunity, right? We adding that possibility and see how deep can we go with these new features. On these two extra here, we're going to have more inputs and outputs. So now this system can handle more stuff in and out, right? And there is actually a pretty cool catch. We added 8 high-speed inputs. And when I mean high speed, I'm talking about 400 kilohertz. So that's 400 thousandths per second sampling. The goal is to be able to attach in-chamber pressure sensors to the ECU. And the ECU be able to analyze in real time something that as today you can only use with a standalone system that not just expensive, is not actually simple to use. It's pretty much require, another crew guy just to operate the system if you have that on your race car. So we're gonna try to bring that kind of technology to anyone that has a 700.
Very impressive right at the moment. A couple of questions there for you. You know, you talk about how you can take the 600, unplug it, plug it right into the back of the 700. From that point on, with the other outlets and everything, does that come in a kit? You know,
Yeah.
how do y'all, as you start building and adding all these other needs to the 700?
Yes, so like the approach on harnesses didn't change much. So just to try to explain how we do, we have pretty much like 3 levels of harnesses. We have a connector kit, is just a connector and pin, so you can do your wiring from scratch. You want to do mil spec, you can do. You know, if you have your own way to do, you can do the exactly way that you want. We have what we call our blank harnesses. They are the connector with the pin and flying leads, like 10 feet of flying leads with the correct color code, gauge, insulation, what is supposed to be used to wire a vehicle, right? So we have that level. And then we have the next level that we have our line of pre-made harnesses. The beauty is, as we kept the main connectors the same, we can actually use the same harness that was built for a 600 on the 700. So these same pro harness, as we call V8, 6-cylinder, a motorcycle, they actually can go and ride in on this deal. So they are already available, actually before the unit, because it is the same as a 600, right? And we also gonna add to the line some new harnesses that can add some of the features to it. And as we spoke about it, the media harness, it's a separate harness as well that has your RCA's connections and stuff like that, so you can do your audio and video and other connections and so on.
So while we're kind of in this, we've already got a couple of questions from a couple of different viewers. And Hussein would like to know, is the CAN network, CAN bus system, compatible with all the cars? And Mitchell Jackson would like to know, what is the refresh rate on the GPS?
Okay, so the built-in GPS, it's a 10 hertz unit. It's a real 10 hertz unit. So it's, for example, it's way faster than the average GPS that's found on regular cars, regular jet skis that they have GPSs, right? And we also gonna have available in the near future a high-speed GPS for the people that need to have that on drag racing or some sort of a specific track positioning where you require more speed. So we kept the 10 hertz here for a reason. When you have a really high sampling rate, like a 100 hertz, for example, it's also required to have a really good line of sight to the satellite. So if you have like a cloudy day or something, a higher frequency GPS don't work as good as a 10 hertz unit will. So what we did was we found the best sensor that will pretty much work no matter where you are, and we put that on the unit. And then we're gonna have a higher grade, more expensive for people that need it, but that sensor only works on a really nice good day. So if you have a car, like for example, you back in Brazil where we have those units on a streetcar or something, and you driving through buildings, 100 hertz will have trouble, but a 10 hertz won't. So that's why we did a 10 hertz, right? And about the other question, CAN network. We already had a dual CAN network on the 600, and the 700, we're gonna do more networks, but not just that. We also gonna open our CAN network. So as up to today, we had that close. We had our own network, the FuelTech CAN, and we also had some vehicles that we had the CAN. Now we open a third option. If you have the knowledge of how your car works with CAN, you can actually tell the ECU how to read that particular vehicle. So that opens up doors to connect to any vehicle.
All right, well, the questions are still coming in. I think right now you're hitting everybody's interest button pretty good. Marco sent us a question from, believe it or not, Brazil. Thank you for tuning us in here today. And I'm watching, and how will the FT cloud work?
Okay, so the FT cloud it's a first time for us. It's the very first time we do a on-demand service. So the FT Cloud is a service that we offer for everyone that's going to be using the Vision FT line. So obviously with a 700, we're going to start with those users. Let me crank back up here and leave it here. So she looks a little nicer. What we do is this, the FT Cloud, it's a computer-based system, like a server, right? Where you will be able, if you like, so if you want to, you subscribe to the system, where you can keep your tunes and your logs, everything organized. The ECU can connect to your Wi-Fi, your cell phone hotspot, or something like that. And if you have the system, can be even a real time, providing your cloud with data. So the first thing that you can use is this. If you're doing remote tuning, your customer can have the car sending to the cloud tunes on real time. You don't need to ask your user, your customer, to actually send you a log or a file. It can be real time. So you'll be able to track the car real time with the logs of the tunes. But the cool thing is this, we will implement artificial intelligence system to the cloud, where you also going to be able to choose. It's not something mandatory, or it is an on-demand service, where the system will be able to pre-analyze your logs and your tunes and make suggestions to you. So he could go out there like, okay, I noticed that from the fast 5 runs, the oil pressure been dropping a little. I recommend you to either change your oil or check your oil system, because your oil pressure is going down here. So the system will be able to interact with you to some extent based on the logs and the data that you provide to the system.
All right, this next question, it's from Steve, and it's a little confusing to me, and I'm gonna do the best I can to get it correct.
Okay, let's work together on that one.
Huh?
Let's work together on that one then.
All right, let's do that. He was wondering about the electric classes that only use time curves and data logging. You know, when you run those classes, can you make this system only run those things in race mode?
Yes. So as today we have, I don't recall, so I'm not going to even guess a final number, but I would say around 10 variants of our firmware. So the firmware is the software that goes into the hardware. Some sanction bodies, they will have limitations because of the rule package. So for example, if you race a junior dragster, you are not allowed to change timing to electronics. You are mandatory to change timing mechanically at the crank trigger wheel. So if you have a junior dragster firmware, you will block that feature from the ECU. You can change the firmware by yourself. You don't need to send back to us. You can go online and download, right? Another example is some sanction bodies, they don't allow any kind of traction control. So you may have a firmware that traction control is not allowed, right? So we will follow whatever the sanction body requests us to do, so the system is valid to be run on that class.
Okay, I'm glad you kind of touched on that, because roll on, excuse me. Can you use the GPS on the front wheel speed sensor for traction control?
Yes, and honestly, you can actually do that today with the existing line. So if you have an external GPS sensor, you can actually set up on a 600, 550, or 450 as a front wheel speed and become the reference speed. And thinking about your rear wheels on a rear wheel drive car will be your traction. So you will look to the speed from the GPS to assess how fast the vehicle is moving. And if the rear wheels is starting to going away from the vehicle, can manage power. The 700 won't be different. Actually, it's going to be better because you have built-in GPS on the system.
All right, kind of like in the same vein, I got 2 questions here back to back. I think will also be in the same category. Sadmar would like to know, what's the max distance for wireless monitoring, aka real time, from your phone?
Okay, so from the phone, you have a couple options like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, right? So the Bluetooth have its own limitations because it's not simple or usual to have an external antenna. So that's not the case. You won't have that. The Wi-Fi is a little easier to have an external antenna. So Bluetooth wise, you're gonna be looking to around 100 feet or so, right? So about 100 feet or so, you'll be able to connect. If the car has the unit too deep inside or something like that, the number may be smaller. If your cell phone has a worse antenna, that may number be smaller again. But like on average, you'll be looking into the number about 100 feet. If you go to Wi-Fi, then there is a deal. You can actually implement repeaters. So you can have a stronger antenna with your laptop and a stronger antenna at your vehicle, and then that's going to be up to that system to see how far can you go. So we haven't made a lot of testing with different products because this actually ended up being a third-party product. But as any other Wi-Fi system, you actually can achieve a really long distance of connection. Problem is the vehicle is moving, so there's a curveball into that. But Wi-Fi for sure, you'll be over that 100 feet that you'll be on the Bluetooth.
So with what you're saying, could you take this system and interconnect with Starlink, for example?
Something like that, some sort of like that. Because for example, since it's a Wi-Fi Ethernet protocol, you could have a repeater on a vehicle, for example. Like let's think about a rally, right? You're doing a rally and you have Starlink. That's a pretty good example. You could use the Starlink to provide internet connection to the ECU, right? And that move to the cloud or somewhere else, and you could be using real time on your laptop somewhere else with a different internet connection. So that's going to be a possibility for sure.
All right. Well, then since we're talking about this, let's touch on a security feature. How do you prevent other people from, getting into your system and getting information from your ECU?
So perfect. So the unit has encryption built in, right? And the encryption goes into the passcode. So the easiest thing that I can do as an example, when you are at home and you have your router or your Wi-Fi repeater or whatever name it you have for your service provider, you have your network name, right? And you have your password, right? The ECU will be pretty much the same way. So we will have ECU name and a password, right? A pretty long password that's encrypted. So first of all, you have those two steps, right? Then similar to a Bluetooth on a vehicle, when you try to connect, the unit will actually ask you to confirm if you have like, is this a device that you want to allow to connect? So we will not just have encryption, but we will also require interaction with the ECU to allow anyone to connect to it.
All right, we got two questions. One from Ryan. Will it work on PWC for Saudi Arabia?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna need to look into that. But like,
Okay.
we are expanding into the Middle East. So if it is within our reach, we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
And Michael has something kind of like the same question, but he was wondering about how many PWMs is the ECU capable of with a pulse width, with pulse width modulating.
Well, that's a tricky question. I'm not sure the number, but pretty much any output as today can be made into a specific PWM output. So different from on our existing line, now with the 700, you have your pre-built features, right? Not just that, you will have actually custom functions where the user can make functions. And by doing so, he can actually tell that function to output a pulse module with wave. So with those custom functions, if he still have any available outputs, they all can be able to do that.
Okay. last but not least, on this round here, how about the AI technology that's involved with the new 700 program?
Okay, so the AI as now will be implemented on the cloud system. So it won't be building into the ECU for now. It will run on the on-demand cloud system. And the cloud system, since it's a third-party system where you do on demand, you may have substantial changes as it goes. The very first version that we're going to release with the first batch of ECUs that we're going to be delivering early October, the Founders Edition, those systems, the cloud system, will be more for data only. As the AI is implemented, it will be refreshed into the cloud for the users that have it. And once the feature provides, if we can, we will actually add some to the ECU.
Okay, Mitchell Jackson, he was like to put the question as, can the new high-speed inputs be set to read sensors like standard white input, e.g. 5-volt, Hall effective VRT, etc.?
Yes, yes. So those high speed are not exclusive high speed. They are also regular inputs that you can do your high side, low side, 0 to 5 volt or something like that.
And I'm going to ask the dumb question right here, because again,
Okay.
you talked about the new, FT 700, and you talk about the compatibility of the 600 unit, which is already presently in competition, in use worldwide. Are we going to wind up, because of all the bells and whistles on the 700, putting the 600 basically on the shelf? I mean, to me, it sounds like you got so many more bells and whistles, and it sounds to me like somebody has been wanting these bells and whistles, or you wouldn't have added them to begin with. Does that make sense? It's like you guys have, since one of the last times we talked, all the beautiful parts of the 600 it's there, but now you've made this new unit where it will do so much more. It's almost like you got to have it.
Pretty much. So we're doing on a way that pretty much like the 600, it's 6 years old now. And we have a really good interaction with our customers, right? So we've been blessed with amazing dealers, amazing customers. And even when they do well, it's competition. You constantly thinking on ways to improve your vehicle, your team, your equipment, right? So we constantly receiving feedback from them. And they constantly saying, man, what if I could do this? What if I could do that? What if this could be quicker? What if this would do by itself? Right?
Yeah.
So we constantly getting that feedback. And that's why we end up updating the 600 itself through those 6 years. I believe the unit received over 20 free updates for the user based on their feedback. But some stuff is harder limited. So Wi-Fi connectivity is not simple to add. But like on a new hardware, then it was easy. We add Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. To do a larger screen is not that simple. So we end up having a whole new hardware to have a new larger screen. Having more outputs is not that simple. The average user will have a O2 sensor. So we built in 2 O2 conditioners to the unit. So as today, if you have, for example, high impedance injectors and smart coils, you don't need any other box besides this thing. Like this thing will run pretty much the whole vehicle without any extra boxes, right? So it still require some other boxes if you have specific. So a low impedance injector, it draws a lower current, right? And we kind of understand that the vast majority of people that run low impedance, they actually run a lot of those. So we're talking about on a V8, 16 of those. Some people have even more than 16. So a low impedance injector on average have a peak of 8 amps and a hold of 2, right? Those high flow big injectors. If you have 16 of those doing an 8 amp peak, it's a lot of current to flow through the ECU. That's why we decide to keep it outside on a box that's made to do that. It's not expensive. You can actually route it and put closer to your battery, closer to injectors, not on your dash, right? That's why it doesn't have a low impedance driver built in on the unit.
And don't misunderstand me when I brought up that question. I'm complimenting on what you've been able to do by listening to your customers and what they're asking for. You know, you gave them what they wanted in the 600, and you know, every level is an improvement because of one reason and one reason only, which normally comes back. If you guys want to see something that we didn't put in the first time, we'll build something to make it the second time or the third time. To me, it's a huge step, and all the variables that you've now included in this unit compared to the other ones. I mean, still outstanding units, like you say, they won this past weekend. But it's just, I think I'm sitting here, you know, in amazement of how much better you've come out with this new line. And you've also built in some, oh, by the ways that are going to allow people to expand and add on to the 700 system to make it even better for them. Because they get a chance. I'm going to go down 3 more questions that we just recently got. You know, what iOS versions will be, you know, software available, you know, such as Apple?
So I'm sorry, I'm not an Apple guy, so I won't have the exact number, but like my guys are working on this to be able to, this time, this system will be compatible to Apple as well. Our previous system was not. It was pretty much just Windows based, and we had the data logger viewer for Android, right? Now, this system is going to be compatible with Apple, Windows, and Android. So one difference also is not just compatible with Apple, it's pretty much the same software. So through your iPhone or your Samsung Android or your tablet or your laptop, it can be a Apple laptop, or it can be a Windows-based laptop. You're actually going to be able to reach the ECU and tune it from that, right? So change the tune, just look at the dashboard if you want to, or look at logs at that moment at your device. One thing that's cool to actually show is also this, like the ECU now, it's actually able to show logs on the screen. So different from the 600, 600 was tune only. To see a log, you would have to go to your computer. Now you actually can have your log on the screen. So something happens, I don't know. You broke your phone out of battery, you broke your laptop, forgot at home. You're still gonna be able to look at the screen for logs. So a racer after a run can actually check what happened on the run as he's taking off, you know, his helmet. He may not have the phone with him. He can go to the screen. Oh, let me see what happened. Did I lift before? How much boost he made? You know, I felt something weird. Can I see something wrong on my AGTs? He will be able to look and see on the fly seconds after he just shut off the car when he's by himself on the shutdown.
That's again, that's incredible. That's what you call making it happen in real life. You know, this is when you needed it right now, and you got it right now. I think that's what it makes all this stuff so incredible. Now, Victor would like to know, with the new ECUs, is there going to be a barometric compensation built in for varying altitudes?
Yes, sir. So with the 700, we also doing another one that was requested. We are implementing volumetric efficiency fuel model. So as up to today, on those 2 decades of FuelTech, we were always doing a fuel model that was straightforward. It was like, you, the user, define how much of the injector use you want. So you could tune through duty cycle, pulse width, or a calculation of the fuel flow, right? But those numbers are user required. Like I want this amount, and then obviously we'll have a fuel closed loop that may adjust a little. Now you can still do that. We won't change. If you use the FuelTech, you want to keep doing how you're doing, you don't have to change. But we will also add VE mode. And on the VE mode, barrel compensation is something that's actually attached to the way it goes, right? But like we're gonna do it slightly different. I think you guys gonna like it when we release the system. We're gonna do in a way that you still can turn on and off compensations both ways. From the VE side, so you can actually, I don't trust my fuel pressure sensor, so I'm gonna estimate this number. I don't trust my temperature sensor. You're gonna be able to like, I don't want my VE to mess with this specific sensor, you'll be able to change it. And then if you don't want to do that, I still want to do the regular pulse width deal, you will be able to implement some tables like barrel to compensate what you're doing on your base fueling maps.
And you kind of, I think, address this, but we'll make sure that we go back and answer this question. Kevin would like to know, would the 700 read all the race pack sensors for an easy ECU swap?
Yes, yes. So we have an approach where our system can actually be considered universal reading sensors. So you can use any sensor. If you have a car with race pack or other systems, and you already have sensors that you can trust, you don't have to swap when you put a system like ours. You can keep your sensors, just connect to the ECU, tell the ECU what sensor you have, and keep using it.
All right. This is going to be, once again, kind of like in the same vein of what Kevin was asking. But will the FT700 directly control turbo smart gates? And is the strategy a simple set boost target, or is it more involved with the ability to modify controller PIDs?
Okay, so we were actually one of the very first systems to be compatible with the electronic gates. And that's with the 550, 600 back in, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And we already implemented that to the 700, right? And we actually found better ways to do it, right? So yes, you're gonna have a target base, right? You're gonna be able to use your electronic gates on exhaust or intake. And the system will also be able for you to fine tune if you feel like, and change the PIDs if you feel like. Actually, right now, we have been doing a lot of field testing, lots of field testing with the unit. And one of the coolest things that we are doing actually a class in Brazil, road racing class, that they have a turbocharged vehicle that has a lot of features on it. And one of them is that, E-gates. So E-gates running for hours, right? And the 700 controlling. So we learn a lot on how to do a better control on the gate with those cars. And they've been used as we speak. Honestly, I think they're testing right now at the track.
Well, again, it sounds like to me that the future is not the future. I think the future is today. You got all these avenues and all these questions that have come up, and every one of them has been pretty much okay. Yeah, we're ready for you. Just, you bring it and you're going to like it type deal. I think that's pretty incredible. I hate to say this, but with all of what we've talked about today, what is on the future? What's next? You guys are you looking at? Because it seems like you've captured everybody's requests and desires at the moment. I do have one question about all of this. Normally, when you go with electronics, they require electricity. You got to have enough power source with battery or whatever, alternator, to make sure everything runs like it should. Is the new 700 going to mean you need to step up something on your battery, or your, you know what I'm saying? Is it going to require more power than maybe what you have for your 600?
Actually not. Like the ECU is pretty much the brain, right? So the ECU being the brain, yes, this unit will require a little more power, than a 600 would, but it's not like by much to the point that you would have to redo something on the vehicle. Coils, injectors, stuff like that, they actually require way more power than an ECU. One of the cool things talking about power is the 700, it's not like a built-in power distribution module, like some people like to have, but the unit is almost like that. Like it has more outputs, and every output can handle to about 10 amps. So besides something that draws a lot of current, like coils, injectors, electronic fan, and a pump, you know, something like that, 4 items on the car, everything else you'll be able to hook it up straight to the ECU. So you don't have to have like a PDM. PDMs are great, you know, they allow easy to be installed and managed some stuff, but they also throw some curveballs sometimes. So if you don't have to, or you don't want to, you don't need to, right? But if you want to, for sure. And now with the CAN being open, if your PDM has CAN capabilities, you can actually talk to the PDM through the ECU with this thing. And just because we talk about power, I think this is it's a really cool subject, right? Our existing line, it's already compatible with electric motors, so electrification, you know, hybrids and stuff like that. But the 700 opens the door to do more, right? We've been working with 7 different customers. They doing like a combustion conversion, right? They come into electric, they take like an old vehicle, remove the old engine. Sometimes it's underpowered or it's hard to refresh the motor. They put an electric motor on it and it becomes a better experience, right? The 600, I'm not really sure, but maybe one of the only hybrid ECUs that can manage combustion and electric on the same box, right? You don't need to have another ECU to do that. It's the same one. And the 700 is not different. It does that. It does fuel and electricity management on the same box. So you could have, I don't know, I want to make a hybrid. I have an electric motor in the front so I can maneuver somewhere being quiet, but I want to crank up my high horsepower deal and make a lot of power. So the unit can do that, the same unit. One unit does both.
Let's see. I keep shaking my head because I think, you know, when are you going to hit the wall? It doesn't allow you to keep, you know, doing what you're doing right now as far as growing the technology that you guys are able to offer up to the competitors, and how much more information. I mean, that to me, it's mind boggling. It really is. And y'all are to be commended on being progressive and being ahead, being on the cutting edge. You really are. Very impressed. Very impressed. Anything else you'd like to share with us, Luis? Because again, it's been really pretty awesome as far as.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we cover everything. Let me say a few things. Like the 700 is the first unit of this new line, right? So we have right now those units, like the 700, on the last stretch of the pre-order. So we have these units being sold right now as a pre-order because we're finishing some of the testing. I don't know if you are aware, but we had a major issue back in Brazil with a major flood that affected our factory. So we had to postpone some of the stuff because we had the factory underwater, over 6 feet of water for over 30 days. And that just like it made us to kind of swap going this way to fix the building, make sure everything is okay, redo the whole manufacturing plant. And we good. Like we just did it. We just finished. The plant is back working. Everything is up and done. But it put us on that small delay, right? So we end up delaying a little the 700, but we're back on track now. And as we start August right now, we will have this pre-order running for another 45 days or so, something like that. It's not a fixed number.
Right.
And we will start delivering the first 700s for those that pre-ordered on October, right? So October, we're gonna be delivering those units. If you want to have one of those first ones, they have to be pre-ordered. Once we finish the pre-order and we go into delivering those units, it may take another month or a couple of months to have the next batch. So in between, we're gonna be releasing some new stuff. So the software for the 700 will be released this month, August. So Stay put with FuelTech. On the next couple weeks or so, you should see all across the media the link that you guys can download and check the software by yourself. And on October, you're gonna see a lot of those hitting the track. My goal, I race personally, and I have the last race of the season in October. So my goal is to race with a 700, see if I can win something with the first month of this thing.
Well, congratulations on that and good luck. I do have one last question, and I don't want to leave this individual out. Roland would like to know, can the camera be activated, by a reverse switch? And wait a minute, Joe H also wants to know, with having external OTA connections now, with respect to security, did you use just internal reviews, or did you utilize external security organizations for review?
Okay, so the first one, yes, the camera can be used like as a backup camera. So you put it in reverse and then it turns on the camera and you can see something, right? I personally want to do slightly different. I want to put mine on the trans brake switch, and I want to put in, look the nose where I'm staging on the beams as a drag racer, right? So I want to do that. Instead of looking my back, I want to see where I'm staging the car. Security wise, yes, we using third-party companies as well, and we will release more information about it as we have those units out. So some details we either didn't have the time to finish, or there's some kind of validation process that it didn't went through yet, but it should be everything done and set on the next couple of months as we release the unit.
Well, outstanding. Again, good luck in everything you're doing, and can't wait to talk to you the next time and find out what kind of Star Wars stuff you're going to bring us.
Maybe a lightsaber, huh?
That's it, baby.
Thank you, Luis. Great as always. Thank you to Natalia for putting the things together. This webinar has been recorded. It will be posted later on the EPARTRADE platform, distributed through our newsletter and social media channel. In the meantime, we pushed the 700, the FuelTech 700 on the homepage of EPARTRADE. So for more information and update, please visit epartrade.com. Next webinar will be with GMS fabrication and chassis. Once again, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
Where will you find Farea racing components? Circle track, drag racing, and any top race shop. In every form of motorsports competition, our valves and valve train components deliver race-proven design and technology. And we've brought that same performance to our street applications as well. We're backed by 5 decades of experience, an extensive range of off-the-shelf components, and our custom valve department has the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Farea Racing Components. Stand with us or race against us.